This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Suspect in St. Thomas abductions possibly being helped to elude cops. The St. Thomas police believe Davian Bryan, the suspect in the abduction of two girls in Bath, St. Thomas, is getting help as he continues to elude them. Superintendent Alison Byfield, commanding officer for the St. Thomas Police Division, said that possibility could not be ruled out because he's getting food in the woods, so it must be somebody who is taking the food to him. The police have been trying to find Mr. Bryan since the first abduction last Thursday. That child was found alive 2 days later on Saturday, but celebrations over her return were short-lived. When news came just an hour after that, a second child was taken. Again, after 2 days, the second child was found alive on Monday. However, the suspect has not been located. $100,000 fee to stay in Smith's Ark, where congregants slept on the floor and were fed dumpling and mackerel gravy. For an entire month in March of last year, 70 congregants of Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries, who were told to pay $100,000 each for entry into Kevin Smith's Ark, slept on concrete floors and barely had enough to eat. That first boarding of the Ark ended badly, but without the loss of life seen during this week's bloody second attempt. Yesterday, a victim of Sunday's ritual who had boarded the Ark on both occasions painted a picture of an organization heavily focused on feathering the nest of its leader and the followers who often blindly complied with the shepherd's wishes. In an interview with the news, the victim, who asked not to be identified by name, said Smith's first call for them to board the Ark came just a week after Jamaica confirmed its first COVID-19 case. He told us to take out loans and bring them to him to buy food because the Lord spoke to him and told him that something is coming. That was the novel coronavirus pandemic that was coming. He knew about it, I don't know how, but he knew about it before it came here, the man told the news. He then called the Ark on March 17. He said that we should all get into the Ark because a lot of things are going to happen and the coronavirus is going to kill a lot of people. We believed him, the young man added. He explained that the Ark was the name Smith gave to the physical building of the organization, now being labeled a cult. It was stocked with supplies paid for with loans taken out by congregants. While the standard entry fee was $100,000, he and other members who had been experiencing financial difficulty were given a bly, but nobody entered free of cost. I didn't have $100,000, so I ended up paying $20,000. But everybody else, he told them they should bring in that $100,000. A lady had to pay $300,000 for her 2 daughters and a granddaughter, but a lot of people did pay the $100,000 to come stay there, said the man. He said it was a grueling 4 weeks at the premises in Albion, St. James. While we were there, we were treated badly by people he had as the missionaries and the ministers. We were getting 2 dumplings with mackerel gravy for dinner. He had us sleeping on the ground and they were cooking like 3 tins of mackerel for about 70 people, he said. He would make them give us a tonka meal to eat. Some days we got porridge to eat in the morning and soup to drink in the night, and you know those are appetizers, so we did a dead for hunger. In addition to the steep entry fees to get into the Ark, they were also forced to pay utility bills, the young man said. He said that we had to pay for the internet because we have to call with family abroad and we have to pay for light and water. I think it was like some ridiculous figure. He said the water bill came up to $200,000 and that the light bill came up to this and that, so every family member had to pay additional money, the victim shared. He said that after a month at the premises and no sign of conditions improving, a former member was made aware of the events and raised an alarm on social media. This forced the leader to allow them to exit the Ark, he said. It came to a point where a lady overseas who used to come to the church started to talk about it. She posted on Facebook saying that it is not right. How can he have people sleeping on the ground while he was locked up in his office under AC? He was eating big food while we were eating scraps like we were dogs, he said. Commotion was over there on a daily basis because people were not used to getting this little bit of food. He even changed the menu and we got brought in the evenings. But that didn't have much substance to help you go through the day, so we were always hungry, the man added. With empty stomachs growling, congregants were also forced to sleep on cold slabs as the building was still under construction. When the lady started to talk about everything, that's when he told us that we are going to go home and he is going to tile out the place because the ground wasn't suitable for us, and then we would come back, the young man said. He later called others behind our backs and stated that no ark will be kept. Time passed and we started going back to church, he told the news. They were never called back until about 2 weeks ago, he said. On Sunday, what congregants believed was a 3-day convention turned into a nightmare after 2 members of the organization were stabbed to death during a ritual involving human sacrifice. 3 others were injured. Another member was killed by the police after allegedly charging at the security forces with a knife. Murdered man mistakenly identified as child abductor was not mentally ill, family says. The family of Levy Chambers, the man who was killed by a mob in St. Thomas after being mistakenly identified as the suspect in the abduction of 2 girls in the parish, is refuting claims that he was mentally ill. Leonard Chambers says he is unclear how his brother ended up in Landiwe where he was attacked.
Them see him in the community, them make a find him favor somebody who them all look for. You hold him, you catch him. Him have so many ID on him that you could have searched him, you could have asked him. I don't know if that do happen. Ask him what he's about in the community. Question him, you know. You don't just kill a man and then you ask him question after. Because the question what you got ask him, you now can answer if you kill him before. Yeah, me cut up about it, to be honest. And let me set the record straight. My brother is not mentally ill. So if them are going to use that as a scapegoat or a clause, them can forget about that. The funniest thing about it, he, a few days ago, was condemning it. Can you imagine that? Few days ago, he was condemning. And to see my brother condemn the kidnapping and all of that. And then now, him come lose him life because of the same scenario, whatever them want to call it. It hurt. Let me say it hurt, I mean it hurt.
It's reported that residents saw Levy Chambers walking along the Landiwe Main Road, stopped him and asked him who he was. Mr. Chambers allegedly ran and was chased. He ran into the bushes and across the Yalas River, where he was held by the mob and stabbed several times in the abdomen. The St. Thomas police are reviewing footage from Wednesday's attack on Mr. Chambers. Superintendent Alison Byfield, a commanding officer for the St. Thomas Police Division, said investigators do not yet have leads on who was behind the murder, but are hoping the video clippings will assist in identifying those involved.
We do not have any lead, but we were able to get some video footage or some video clippings, and we'll be going through these clippings to identify persons who are involved. From the go, we started out doing that, looking at the citizens and pleading with them, because we noticed that when they turn out for the search, they have turned out with machete. Within all honesty, we would have confiscated a few, but then we returned them, seeing it's a farming community. Persons are saying they need their machete to cut the bushes to go through, but we have been pleading with them from day one, do not attack him. If you see him, let us have him. Hold him, call us. Because we try to be a part of all the searching. We try to have the police on every search team. But there are citizens who go alone in some of the areas to search without the police.
Probe launched into cops who escorted Pathways leader's motorcade. An investigation has been launched into the conduct of 2 policemen who provided motorcycle escort for a motorcade for now disgraced the leader of Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries, Kevin Smith, as he traveled through the streets of Montego Bay in 2018. I saw that clip as well, and we are requiring that clip. We have asked for an investigation to be done, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of Area 1, Clifford Chambers, told the news yesterday. What year? Who were the officers in charge of the division at the time so that we could see if that was officially sanctioned or not? That is part of the query that is being done. The motorcade comprised of 2 limousines accompanied by a marching band and was said to have been staged to mark the 8th anniversary of Smith's enthronement. It ended in front of a building near City Center that was then the home of the organization, now widely seen as a cult. Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries relocated to its current Albion location, now infamous as the scene of human sacrifice 3 years ago. Investigations into the organization continued yesterday with the police searching Smith's property. ACP Chambers said 2 of 3 houses are located in the upscale community of Ironshore in St. James. As you move from one to another, you just don't know what will happen. So for now, we are focusing on 3 locations. Anything can happen thereafter, stated the lawman. On Wednesday, a team from the Major Investigations Task Force was unsuccessful in entering one of the houses, but fared better yesterday, gaining access by forcibly removing the padlocks. They had help from the fire department. There is another location that the police will also be focusing on, but the second location that is linked to and associated with the summit was processed on Thursday as they continued their investigations, said ACP Chambers. The one on Wednesday, there are things in that location that should show that he is associated with it. He visited it, he stayed there, and all of that. I can't say if anything incriminating was found, but the evidence would indicate that he is associated with that property, disclosed the Area 1 police head. Efforts to get a comment from Smith's lead attorneys, Valerie Nita Robertson and Henry McCurdy, were rebuffed yesterday, with Nita saying, "We do not try our cases in the media." Meanwhile, Chambers was unable to confirm reports that a high-ranking member of the Area 1 intelligence team was reassigned yesterday after it was discovered that he is a senior member of Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries. Reports had also surfaced that the colleague policeman's child had been christened there 6 months ago. Saint and family rattled after suspected suicide by a second son. A man is reported to have committed suicide after allegedly attempting to murder his common-law wife last weekend, a few years after his brother died under similar circumstances. The man, who was found hanging on the morning of October 16, has been identified as Timiko Martin. According to a report from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Martin had an ongoing dispute with a female when he attacked and strangled her, leaving her unconscious. He was later found hanging from a cord at a shop. The welding shop in which the body was found is owned by Martin's father and is located at his parents' residence on Back Street in Great Pond, Ocherios. Martin lived with his girlfriend a few miles away at Old Buckfield near the Ocherios town center. Residents said they have 2 children together, but their relationship had been tumultuous. The girlfriend, who was strangled and left for dead, has been released from hospital. It is at least the second time they are being hard hit by such a tragedy. A relative of the deceased brothers declined to give details about the 2 incidents, but described them as sad. Having seen Martin's lifeless body hanging last weekend, the relative commented, "It is going to haunt me for the rest of my life." Residents told the news that Martin's brother shot and wounded his girlfriend a few years ago and was later found dead. There appears to be controversy over whether he was the one who fatally shot himself. In the meantime, residents of Great Pond have expressed a shock at Martin's suspected suicide, adding that he should not have taken his life at his parents' residence, considering that he did not live there. They described the parents as loving and highly respected. "The mother and father, 2 nice people them. The father is well known all over the place," said one resident. Another resident added, "The 2 brothers lose them life over a woman. The first one did a build a big house beside him parents when him dead by the gun over a woman. The other brother could easily take over the house and finish it, but him dead now too. The 2 of them never in need of anything. All know me in a shock." Cabinet Subcommittee to discuss resumption of face-to-face school, new restrictions. A Cabinet Subcommittee is to meet on Friday to discuss the resumption of face-to-face classes at schools and whether to ease current COVID-19 restrictions. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure on Thursday during a vaccination mobilization tour in Clarendon. Mr. Holness said the Education Minister has made a submission to Cabinet on the reopening of public schools.
We will be taking a full analysis of this document tomorrow when the COVID Committee of Cabinet meets. The consideration is for a return to face-to-face for some categories of students, certainly for the vaccinated category of students. But we have to also look at where we are in the present wave. The positivity rate is not low enough to risk the return to any form of activity that may contribute to spread. And there is always serious contemplation of ensuring that persons who have taken the vaccines, that they are able to function because they are less risk to the public health, and that those who continue to be a risk to the public health, that the necessary protections and restrictions are in place, not just for the public health, but for their protection and their health as well. Because there is this false view that if the infection rate is low and the positivity rate is low, then we are all protected. That's not the case.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.